Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live. I'm sporting my shirt I got at the Brand New concert. But you know, this is a weird week. I mean, I got a glass of wine. So you know this is already going to be a messed up stream. I'm drinking wine. Mark, I think, is drinking wine. Caleb's employed. So just all kinds of things, cats and dogs living together. It's just going to be an absolute mess. But I'll bring my compatriot, Mr. Mark Capitan here. Mark, congratulations. I saw you did pretty well today on in some tournaments. Although, I think you're not necessarily like super thrilled with what you won, but you got something, right?
Yeah, I got into the Twin Spires 1K for Travers Day. So got in on a very, very cheap entry where I played terribly and somehow lucked out because you basically just needed to not go broke to get top four. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that tournament. I think there was some chat, one of our group chats, I was talking about maybe just giving somebody the entry, and not that I don't want the BCBCC. It's just I'm going to be on track. I'm going to be really focused on obviously live money stuff, but also on I got a spawn surf entry probably a week ago. So that's really going to be my focus. That tournament is a bigger deal for me, although it probably shouldn't be. Probably the BCBCs are a bigger deal, but anyways, I had a nice day, and it was a fun day today. Tomorrow's card is very tough, and then we get into Saturday, which is it's Travers Day, right? So big, deep competitive fields, really fun card, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Some good racing though.
Nick Seaver saying he's gotten top four at Turfway with 37 cents. And like, hey, Mark, like I said, if you can't play, you need me to babysit it, I'm around Saturday, so we can talk. We'll talk after this.
Yeah, we'll talk. Sure.
We'll talk. Yeah, I still don't have the soundboard completely set up, but I wish I had like a funeral march or something I could play for Mr. Caleb Knight, because starting Monday, you're gonna be joining the rest of us back in the rat race, Caleb. So,
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, it's been getting a little bit boring here, honestly. So it's not all bad. So it should be fun to, have some more, reasons to get out and go do stuff. And honestly, I got like a good month and a half off to enjoy Saratoga, so that wasn't the worst time to have some extra free time.
Yeah. I do see Penn State Scott saying I guess the bourbon bubble has busted. Caleb, are you saving us here? You got some bourbon with you?
No, I have beer, and I have like I have Modelo actually, so not even like good beer.
So a funny story. I don't know. There's a I don't know if you've ever seen the meme, but it's like the guy like all the way on the left is like drooling, right? The guy all the way on the right is like the Jedi, and the guy in the middle is like normal, and it's like the bell curve. And it's like the drooling guy is drinking Modelo. The guy at the top of the bell curve is like some IPA, and then the Jedi guy is also drinking Modelo. Yeah, so I kind of feel like that's how I am. Like, my buddy will go to the like one of the craft breweries, and I'll be like, pick me up a lager, pick me up a Pilsner, pick me up like something that's not hoppy, like please. Yeah, it's funny. I go back and forth. What did say Nick Seaver series? Are you talking about the 37 cents?
No, Nick Severs is offering to play that 1K for me, and I mean, he's a sharp tournament player, so I may take him up on that.
But so what's funny, speaking of Penn State Scott talking about the bourbon bubble, I actually today, so the reason I'm drinking wine is, after you hit 30, like you can't switch. I mean, unless you're just being an idiot, which we've done numerous times where
No, never.
you know, we'll start doing
Us?
shots and drinking whiskey after having a couple beers, and but we went out to a wine tasting today. But I was thinking, I was like, well, what bourbon am I going to drink tonight? And so I thought about my friend Tommy Massis. So he always said, you know, he would like we were like be talking, and he's like, you know how you can tell a successful professional better? And I'm like, no, how? He's like, you look in their fridge. He's like, if you open the fridge, there's food in there. It's like they're probably doing all right. And so I was going to, you know, basically say that, okay, like that's like for a professional better, but for a recreational better, you see what whiskey they're drinking. And I was going to have a bottle of Benchmark today, because that'll tell you just how well my betting has gone. I mean, of course I have other bottles, but like, I thought that would be a funny little play on Tommy's little allegory there. But yeah, no, we got a couple weeks still of the meet. What do we got? 2 weekends left. So we got this weekend, we got next weekend, and then yeah, Labor Day is on the 1st.
Labor Day's closing day.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought last year, like I didn't think that my Saratoga meet could have gotten any worse than last year. And then 2025 said, hold my beer. Because I don't know if I've cashed like anything over like $200. I think this meet it's been rough. And if I have, I don't remember it because the rest of it has just been so bad. But I'm looking for. I unfortunately am looking forward for this meet to end, and maybe college football and NFL will be my savior. But you know, and Del Mar hasn't been much better, but you know, that's where we're going to start here. And it's mostly it's going to start because Caleb, today, Mark said, and I quote, man, the Pat O'Brien looks pretty good. And I think, Caleb, your response is, are you trolling? Like,
Travers Day
you
weekend
couldn't believe it.
Mark's just, you know, pumping up Del Mar. But it does look good. He's not wrong. It's a good race.
I have to play it. I'm in a tournament. I was capping things, and I was like, this is actually a really good race. I mean, as far as the who's who of this division on the West Coast, this is a really good field. There's no standout horse. It's pretty competitive. It's deep field, and it's a really good betting race. So I thought it made some sense to at least touch on it because there's definitely sort of Breeders' Cup sprint implications coming out of this race. Whoever wins this is definitely going to the sprint, and honestly, your top three may go to the sprint. I could see. So it's a good race. It's something we should probably at least touch on briefly.
Yeah, and your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the number 2 Speedboat Beach. Who we did see, won the Malibu as a 3-year-old, came back as a 4-year-old, or actually didn't run at all as a 4-year-old, came back earlier this year, and basically ran up the track, and his stablemate Fort Bragg won that race at Churchill Downs. So coming back here off the layoff, 5-2 on this horse. I couldn't take 5-2 on this horse, and I think this is a very talented horse. But I don't know. This horse is just like hard to understand, right? Because they put this horse on dirt and won a nice maiden, and then Bob Baffert does something he doesn't normally do with good horses, and he immediately put this horse on turf. And they ran the entire 2-year-old season on turf. So, I don't know if Bob was like confused as like what he had, or what happened there. Obviously, another long layoff, comes back at the end of 3-year-old season, runs some nice races, ends up winning the Malibu as in that 3-year-old Grade 1 sprint. I don't know why it's a Grade 1, freaking December 3-year-old restricted race, which is ridiculous. But comes back after that long layoff and basically lays an egg. So I'm not on Speedboat Beach. Are either of you guys going to be using this horse in any way, shape, or form?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm not using him either.
Yeah, which I think to me ends up basically I ended up looking at the next two choices on the morning line. I think Stronghold in here looks really, really tough. Ran second in the Malibu last year to Raging Torrent, and then came back in the Pegasus. And I think if you kind of look at this horse and look at his one-turn races, he won a mile 16th, mile 8th, won some won some races as a 3-year-old, but I mean, those were kind of soft fields in that spot. I mean, I think we can all kind of talk about the 2024 3-year-old crop wasn't exactly great. And yeah, I mean, I do think that his races and his success going one turn, I think those races just look a lot better. So I really like Stronghold coming into this race, going back to one turn. Timeform's got this coded as a fast pace, and Stronghold is going to be a horse that's going to be kind of sitting mid pack and trying to close into, I think, a bit of a fast pace. So I like Stronghold. And then Caleb's favorite horse in training, Dr. Venkman. I mean, I feel like he bets his horse all the time. Yeah, I think that maybe this is finally the time for Dr. Venkman, and it could just be the fact that he finally found, I think, a soft enough field to win. So I like Dr. Venkman here. Another horse that's going to be probably tracking the pace, and I think that there is going to be a fair bit of pace in front of him. So I like Dr. Venkman in here, and I like Stronghold. Stronghold, I think, a little bit more than Dr. Venkman, so I have him AB. Mark, I'll let you go.
No, a real similar take to what you had, Josh. I had Dr. Venkman and Stronghold as my top two. When I look at this race, there's some interesting jockey moves here. Fresu had been riding both of them. He seems to stick with Stronghold. Rispoli gets up on Dr. Venkman. I'm assuming that's what happened. I don't imagine he was taken off from Dr. Venkman. I had a really hard time kind of differing between the two. They both seemed pretty darn similar to me. And I didn't really have any sort of other creative, like that other horse to go with. But there's some really interesting moves here. You have horses like Express Train, who hasn't run this short a million years, cutting back, and then you also had horses like what is it, I thought there was a new face of a horse, Tapalo, I think is how you say it, the 8 horse, who I thought was kind of a new fresh face in here. So I'm interested to see how Caleb had this, because he tends to play Delmar better than I do. I had Dr. Venkman or Stronghold. I'm kind of coin flipping between the two, but I was hoping he had a smarter opinion than what I have here.
Well, I don't know if it's smarter, but it's certainly different. I think directionally, I think all the short prices in here have something to prove. I mean, Speedboat Beach, hasn't been seen in a year and a half. The one race off the layoff was terrible. Dr. Venkman, his last race was awful. I mean, despite being a grade 1, the Bing Crosby was not a good race. It was won by 20-1 long shot Lovesick Blues with Giovanni Franco, who was just not that talented. I mean, Hijazi ran second, and I think we all know, that's like a Baffert JV horse. I mean, I want no part of Dr. Venkman. I think he's going the wrong direction. He's gotten progressively slower in 3 starts this year. I've bet him enough times that he probably wins now that I'm off of him, but I don't want anything to do with him. Speedboat Beach, I mean, you can almost give him a pass in a way, because it does say that he bled in that last race. So perhaps that, 10th by 18 isn't as bad as it looks, but the layoff is still a big question. I mean, he hasn't been seen in a long time. And a horse like Stronghold is maybe the most trustworthy of the short prices. But again, he's coming off of a horrible race where, a big layoff since January, and he's never really struck me as a sprinter. I mean, Josh made some case about his one-turn race. I mean, are you going back to the October 2023 race that he won going one turn? Because to me, I mean, they've kind of known this horse is mostly a router. They've campaigned him that way. He's run fine. I just don't think he's that good. He's probably the most trustworthy of the short prices, but I wanted to get a little bit stupid here. So for me, I mean, when choosing between horses that are fast enough to win but look like they're out of form versus horses that need to improve but are at least in form, I'm going to go with the second bucket. So I landed on 2 horses who are both going to be probably dumb prices. The first is the number 5, Awesome Rhythm, who's probably the longest price in the field. And listen, I get it. It's a 6-year-old horse that needs to improve to win this race. If you look at his career top versus the career top of other horses in this race. But at least with him, his career top is his most recent effort. Whereas a lot of like the career tops other horses have run that are faster were, 2, 3, 4 starts ago, a year ago at a different distance. And, this horse is just, getting good at the right time. I mean, they finally figured out that he might actually be a dirt horse. 3 wins out of 4 starts over a fast track and, versatile running style. Again, this is a bit of more of a hunch play against the short prices. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go all in on this horse, but you have a barn that's done very well with limited starters so far this meet. For a jock who rides well when he's up for Victor Garcia. So Awesome Rhythm is going to get a little bit of my money. The other horse I'm going to use a little bit of is the number 9, Mana Rose. And I get it. Edwin Maldonado is not having a great meet. He was like 0 for 40, and he did pick up like 2 wins in the past week or so. So maybe he's finally waking up a little bit. There is a risk this horse kind of becomes a pace casualty given the presence of some of the Baffert speeds and the other speeds. But I like the outside post here. I think that's going to give him some options to maybe see what the other speed does and work out a bit of a tracking trip. He has sat like second a couple of times, a length or 2 off and then able to close up. And again, I mean, if you kind of look at the dirt races, I mean, he's 4 for 6 lifetime. I mean, this is a horse that likes to win. Stumbled out of the gate last time here in a Calbred Stakes, losing to Big City Lights. Big City Lights is a really nice horse. For a Calbred, he's an extremely nice horse. He was used to knock heads with the Chosen Vron, over and over again, a year or 2 ago. So, Mana Rose, I mean, he is one that does have a couple of figures that are, close to fast enough to win. Essentially all of his dirt starts, with the exception of his last race where he stumbled out of the gate, are fast enough to at least hit the board, if not outright win this race, depending what you think some of the shorter prices are going to show up with. So the layoff's a bit of a question, but Mullins Barn, has been winning, pretty good this meet as well. So that's the other horse I'm going to go with. The short prices just have too many questions for me to answer to really want to back any one of them at 3 to 1 or something like that.
Mark, you got anything else?
I really don't. It's a tough race. It's a really competitive race. I think Caleb brings up a lot of good points that, all the short price horses have question marks. So is this the type of race where you're trying to make an excuse for one of them, or you go try to fish and find a price? And I think the latter makes more sense. Like I said, I had my 2 top choices. I'm playing tournaments through this, so they'll be neither one of those will be my choice. I just don't know where I'm going to land yet, but it's a fun race and it's a pretty competitive one. So it's interesting.
All right, let's move on to Saratoga here. We'll start with race 7 real quick. We got the late classic. We got a grade 2 for 3-year-old fillies. Your morning line favorite in this race is the 1 Play with Fire at 2 to 1. Mayday Ready at 5 to 2, and then 7 to 2 on Eponine. I don't know. 6 to 1 on Warming, 4 to 1 Raining Flowers, and then you get 10 to 1 on Scarlet Sands. Boys, I got the longest price on the board in this race. I mean, I got all kinds of things here. I see no speed. You rarely see no speed on the time form pace projector. And I got my boy Joel Rosario on the lead here. Oh man, I'm gonna lose so much money on this horse. Yeah, I mean, none of these horses, really. I mean, like Play with Fire at 2 to 1. I mean, isn't even technically the fastest horse in the field, right? Mayday Ready. I mean, I don't know. Mayday Ready just hasn't been able to figure it out. I think in her 3-year-old season, had a real good 2-year-old season, but just took a step forward in the Belmont Oaks, but seeing a top in a losing race, doesn't exactly strike me as, hey, wanting to bet this race. Warming was kind of another one that kind of got like that big figure in that losing race. I mean, won at Aqueduct and at Delaware Park. So I don't know. I wasn't really too interested in there. And the Raining Flowers is one that just is going to be really, really far back, I think, in this race. And there's just no pace in here. So I do think the 5 Scarlet Sands has got an opportunity to kind of try and go wire to wire here, coming off of 3 straight wins, obviously all at Gulfstream Park. but both on the synthetic and on the turf. So I'll take the horse that's coming in off of 3 straight wins, longest price on the board, Scarlet Sands, and we hope we get a little NYRA special here. Caleb, where did you land?
Yeah, and I respect the opinion there, Josh. I mean, I don't know that I could really get there because I think the horse is just much too slow. And I don't know that she's beating much at Gulfstream, but she is in good form and she probably does have a pace advantage. So, I mean, I respect the play there, and especially if you get 10-1. I agree with you about Play with Fire. I want no part of that horse. I'm not really sure why she's 2-1, unless it's just a Chad Brown Flavian thing. I just don't think she's really all that talented. I like the horse as kind of her immediate outside. My top pick is the number 2, Eponine, I guess. Is that for the 1 or the 2? I'm not sure you're talking about the 1.
That was for the 1. Sorry,
okay.
I was just late.
Okay. Eponine. This is a horse that, I mean, if you look at time form figures, her race is 2 and 3 back, put her right in the mix of this race. And as we talk about pretty frequently, the time form figures for European shippers usually end up improving anywhere from 5 to 15 points when they ship over to the States. So if you're projecting even a modest 5 or 8 point improvement, that puts her as a very serious contender in a race like this. On thoroughgraphs, she's also probably your fastest horse, if I remember right. I'm gonna have it up in front of me right now, but they typically translate a little bit better, I think. Typically also showing a bit of improvement when they come to the States. So I think that Eponine is probably the horse to beat in here. I'm not too familiar with the connection, so I do think it's a bit interesting that they're shipping in here. But I did notice it's a Rapoli owned horse, so I don't know the backstory. I'm not sure if anyone in chat or Mark maybe knows kind of the scoop on what happened there. But I don't know if this is a private purchase or if it's always been Rapoli. But an interesting. You don't see that often with a Rapoli owned French trained horse coming to Saratoga for a grade 2. But that is my top choice. And then I'm going to go back to the well one last time on Mayday Ready. She's kind of running out of chances with me, but I do think, she ran a great race in the Breeders' Cup. Didn't run at all in Japan. I mean, I'll give her a pass for that. Didn't run at all in the off the turf race. Give her a pass for that too. And then in the the last race out in the Belmont Oaks, blew the start, jumped up in the air, and Frankie probably just hasn't been riding all that well. I think the jockey switch here is meaningful to Jose, who probably gets her a little more involved early. She kind of does. Her last out time form is technically the fastest in the race. I think it's a bad number. I don't think that's that July 5th, the turf was playing extremely fast times all day. So I'm a little suspect of that figure, but she is one that I'll probably give maybe one last chance to, but 5-2, doesn't do a whole lot for me there. So 2 is an A, probably 3 is more of a B type.
Yeah, I'm somewhat similar to Caleb. Somewhat similar. Eponine is a horse that I think is at least interesting, but my main concerns are, so first off, I don't know the backstory about Rapol being the owner. I'm not sure what the deal is there. I hadn't heard anything about it, so news to me. Extremely turfy pedigree, but she's winless on turf. So, both of her wins come on synth, and at POW. And the thing is, when you debut a horse at POW, that's kind of the bottom of the barrel of French racing. But then they put her to Chantilly, and Chantilly is basically as good as it comes. She's been close a couple of times. I don't really know who she was beating or who she's running versus. She's an interesting fresh face in this division, at least. And I think that makes her interesting. Mayday Ready, my main issue with her is I don't know if she's one of those horses that just hasn't taken a step forward from 2 to 3. Again, are Nitrogen and Fion just that good? And she's just been running versus much better company, and she's getting some class relief here, getting kind of the B tier of this division. It could be the case. I'm not going to beat her up too much about it, but Stephen, God. No, I think she's at least an interesting player in this spot. Mayday Ready to me, Mayday Ready can just beat me in this spot. I'm really not interested in her at all. The horse I am interested in though, that we haven't really talked about yet is the 4 Warming. who, I know Manny Franco's up, so Caleb won't pick the horse. Josh probably won't pick the horse either because Manny's up. But, she's got some really, really nice efforts. I don't think she was disgraced in that Belmont Oaks Invitational. And there's a lot of class relief stepping back to this effort, or to stepping back to this spot here. Obviously, Grand Motion has never been a high percentage trainer, but he does keep these horses, get them, running really well and keep them in really good condition for a long period of time. And I think this is a horse that you probably get close to that 6-1, given the fact that there's some other, the Chad Flavian horse in the race. So I think Warming probably ends up being my top pick in this spot, in a horse that seems to be going in the right direction. She has some pace, so she can be more forwardly placed. I would imagine, her and Play with Fire kind of sit just off from Scarlet Sands, and and hopefully she gets a nice trip and can kind of pick up the pieces. So she's my top pick. But again, this is not a huge field, but a very competitive race.
So I had our friend Mr. Slow and Steadied himself run a quick little search on Joel Rosario's statistics when first at first call. What do you think his win percentage is when he is first at first call?
It's got to be filthy. It's got to be 35%.
And any surface?
Any surface.
35%.
I'd say 32%.
30.8% with a $2.42 ROI.
Yep.
I'm telling you, man. But I think those stats are a little misleading, because I think he just picked he pulled, I think, Jose Ortiz, and he's 28.9%.
Well, you got to figure. I mean, the horse at the first call wins 25% just by default. I mean, especially on back, not more. So
yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting, because I asked him to pull it. Interestingly enough, he pulled Lane Luzzy. Never mind, it wasn't Jose. It was Lane Luzzy. Wins at 28.9% when first at first call. Not Jose. Jose is 36%. But
doesn't make you feel better.
I did
now,
see.
does it?
No, it doesn't. I did see him pulling. He's pulling some. He says his formulator at home statistics for Nick Sievers. He said he would love to see the Roy when Chad enters one horse in the filly mare on turf graded stakes at Naira. When he enters 3, he feels like he's throwing his hands up. When he enters 1, though, maybe that's the one.
I don't know about that. I would just. I don't think there's any real data that would back that, because I think if you see Chad, he just has so many horses, and he has so many quality horses that he gets these graded stakes, and he just is like, oh, I have 3 horses that fit. I'll just throw them all in there. I don't. I think people way overthink the Chad Brown. I mean, there are times where he clearly puts a rabbit in or does something like that, but I think for the most part, he's just throwing. Hey, I have 3 or 4 horses that fit. I'm going to throw them all in.
Penn State Scott asking if I can trust Summer Gulfstream. I'll take a shot at the longest price on the board in a turf race, but
I did just check
we'll
my
see
notes too, and despite kind of trashing the character of the one, I do have that horse down as against a speed bias on a day when the inner at Saratoga was playing super strong to speed. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe that's why David made this horse so short.
Hold on a second. I need this for Caleb now. Apparently there's a there goes the value alert too. I don't know when I created that one, but all right. We got anything else in chat here? I did love David's comment. How are you going to take away Mark's opportunity to mispronounce a horse's name?
You've put it up 3 times now. Get over it, okay?
That's true. But all right, let's move on. Personal ensign. We're going to be going 1 mile and 1/8 on the main track for fillies and mares 4 years old and up. 6-5 on Torpedo Anna. Caleb, you on Torpedo Anna here? You going to try and single, or are you against here?
I'm not going to try very hard to beat Torpedo Anna. She'll be a single A for me in this race. I'll probably have one horse as like a B or C behind her. Given that I am using her, I can't afford to be very spread in this race. But I just think, I don't know what happened in La Troyenne. I mean, I was against her that day, and I made money beating her that day. But she got bumped pretty good into the first turn, kind of got eased. But clearly, she's no worse for wear. I mean, she came out of that race just fine, and romped in the Fleur de Lis, and just like she always, we're used to seeing her do. So, yeah, I just think that she got a really lucky break by drawing the outside post in here, because all the other speed, randomized, dazzling move, Bernie takes charge, all drew to her inside. So there's no chance that she's going to get pinched, shuffled, anything like that. She gets a nice cozy outside trip, and I just think she's much the horse to beat in here. I think the horses that a lot of people are going to try to beat her with, like a Randomized or like a Raging Sea, I'm just not sure that they're really quite good enough, especially Raging Sea, who seems to be just nowhere near as good as a 5-year-old as she was at 4. It might be time to bust out the just want to be a mom alert for that one. But, she's going the wrong way. I mean, dazzling move can't get the distance, Randomized, tough horse to trust, and getting a pretty negative jockey change there. So to me, I mean, I'm going to single A Torpedo Anna. I'll have one horse behind her, but I'll see what you guys do first.
Mark,
I love Caleb dunking on Randomized and mentioning she hasn't been the same horse this year, except for the fact that she beat Torpedo Anna in May of this year.
I was dunking on Raging Sea, not Randomized, but
Raging Sea. Raging Sea beat Torpedo Anna in May of this year. So yeah, but anyways, I do agree with you. I think Torpedo Anna is much the horse to beat. But I think the thing with Raging Sea is a horse that's just massively pace dynamics dictated. She needs pace to run into. She's going to get pace to run into here. So again, Torpedo will be a lone A. Raging Sea is going to be a lone B for me. I think she's the one horse that if Torpedo Anna gets enough pace in this race early on, can set up Raging Sea. I think she's the one horse that can probably get up and beat her. But beyond that, it's Torpedo Anna is much the best horse in here. I'm not, pure caliber of the horse. Yeah, there's not much argument there. I think the only way she gets B is if they go a little fast early and it sets up somebody like Raging Sea.
Raging Sea is a takeout reducer in this. Just 4 consecutive slower races. She's just over racing. Like if she beats, I wouldn't. She's the last horse I'd use in this race. But I can see the pace angle, but yuck. Those last 2 are tough.
I get where you're coming from, and again, she hasn't run back to that top in the Breeders' Cup Distaff or something, right? But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I get your angle, but who else beats Torpedo in this race? Like, where else do you go?
Josh, where else do you go?
I think I'm going to split the difference here, but not really split the difference because I'm guessing I'm using both your guys' Bs as my As. My 2 A's in this race are the 3 Raging Sea. I agree with you, Mark, on the pace angle. I think that Raging Sea is going to get some pace to close into in here. And I'm just hoping that Torpedo Anna's maybe lost a little bit of a step there, and Raging Sea is able to outkick her in the kind of the closing quarter mile there. And kind of a horse that's kind of found a new side of form, the 4 Darth Vader. I do think that won a nice race in the Phipps. Obviously, it was over a sloppy track, but this is a horse that's kind of been improving every single race, speed figure wise. Granted, ran 4th in that Molly Pitcher at 2-1 last time out to Randomized, who ended up winning that race, but. I just think maybe if this horse can get a little bit more pace in front of her and is able to kind of track off that, might be able to get first run with Torpedo Anna and being drawn inside. So I got the 3 and the 4. Caleb, I assumed the 4 was going to be the other horse you used, but I don't know if it's not. No. Okay. Who else did you use?
I think it's the 6, Leslie's Rose. This is a horse who's coming off of a huge effort. So my worry with her is that she might go backwards off of that. But, that was a career top for her. And if you go off of, this career top on any set of figures you want to look at. And if you look at the thoroughgraphs, it's actually the fastest figure in the race that anybody has run. And that includes Torpedo Anna. She actually posted a -1 thoroughgraph in that, whereas Torpedo Anna typically runs around a 1 every single time. So if she runs back to that last race, there's a real good chance she just wins this outright. I'm a little bit skeptical that she's going to run back to that, because she is a horse that runs some stinkers sometimes. I mean, you draw a line through those 2 sloppy starts where she just, didn't pick up her feet, but there's still some other questions. I mean, the CCA Oaks was not a good effort. Devona Dale, she was beaten at a very short price. So this is a horse who occasionally doesn't show up, but she's a 4-year-old filly who, on her best day, I think can beat Torpedo Anna. And, she's the one that I would be using, behind Torpedo, kind of as a saver ticket. I think you guys have lost your fucking mind with Raging Sea. I mean, maybe if it's 2024, but I think that's a crazy bet. North Vader, I don't mind. She was pretty wide last out in the Molly Pitcher when beaten by Randomized. I would have liked to have seen a bit more from her, but I don't mind that pick either. But for me, it's Torpedo Anna probably wins this race. Leslie's Rose is the only one I want anything to do with kind of as a saver ticket.
Mark, was there anyone else you were looking at in this race?
The only other horse, and again, this is like the skinniest of C tickets of this sort of beyond, but this 5 in here, Bernie Takes Charge, who it seemed like a horse that I actually thought Josh might like, a horse that's 2 for 4 going this trip, has some sort of early speed, and has some figures like a couple of back figures that are pretty stout in here and actually fit pretty well. I realize I got some sort of audio issue going on. I'll take care of it in a second here. But I don't know. I figured this is the kind of Josh Price type horse. This horse can be everybody 20-1 in a field that you can make some argument that the horse has run some recent figs that fit in here.
Winter Duck turf or dirt figure that is a career top and is like the best or second best in the field. Like, I mean, Caleb, I know you love Winter Duck, but I feel like that's a hard figure to trust, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is where, and I know we don't always agree on this, this angle, but this is where I think class kind of comes in. I think she can maybe run those figs against those horses under those conditions. I don't expect her to run a 120 here when she has to contend with Randomized and Dazzling Move on the front end, and then has to, deal with Torpedo Anna breathing down her neck, and then even hold off some of their, later runners. I just, the raw numbers give her a shot. I mean, Mark's not wrong, but I just don't think there's much chance that she can run back to that against this quality of competition.
Well, it's the second time today you've admitted I wasn't wrong. I'm shocked.
So, Mark, and actually, so I will say this, because I looked at this horse for a very long time, because I saw the fake ass Aqueduct figure, but then I saw the last figure, the 118 at Saratoga last out. Now, granted, it was on a speed favoring track, right? But I'm like, all right, like the fact that this horse kind of backed that figure 3 back up, I think if for some reason Randomized scratches, you use the 5. I just think that Randomized is probably like not only the fact that Randomized is just super, super quick early, but the fact that Randomized is drawn right on the rail. Like it's just tough to like. If you were to tell me these 2 horses are going to duel, while Randomized is going to put the 5 away, and then Randomized is going to get swallowed up by somebody else, I think. But I think if either of those horses scratch, the 1 or the 5, I think it makes the other one a little bit more interesting, because I always think, I mean, on any kind of dirt race, right, speed's always deadly. And Randomized is super, super fast, but at the same time, Randomized is also, I in my opinion, pretty exposed when she gets like legitimate grade 2, grade 1 fields to run against. But but she's been able to wire races when she's gotten slower paces. But I mean, gets just an absolute unbettable jockey at this point. So I don't know. Caleb and I are I mean, I like, friends don't let friends bet Manny Franco, right? And like, no one has stopped me, but I will stop Caleb.
Thank you.
Right, because just we've been hurt too many times this meet.
I mentioned I like a Manny horse, and none of you are stopping me from betting Manny. So boy, that says something.
I swear, dude, like he wins like 13 or 14% of his races, and they must all be races I just don't see. Like they just must all be
You mean
races
like
that they
the
run.
horse the one horse he won on today?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it. Didn't happen. Okay.
No, didn't happen. Anything else here in this race? All right, the King's Bishop here, race 10. We're gonna be going 7 furlongs here for 3-year-olds, and grade 1 race here. Your morning line favorite is the 1 Patch Adams at 3-1, 4-1 on Verifier, 5-1 on Chancellor McPatrick, 9-2 on Barnes, 6-1 Manicat Road, 8-1 Midland Money, double digits on Captain Cook in this spot. Mark, I'll let you go first. Where did you land here?
Love me some good King's Bishop talk. But yeah, it really interesting race. And this is one, I don't know. I thought this came up very salty, very interesting affair. Obviously you have 3 Baffords shipping in for this. And I like none of them. I think for me, you have Verifier, the 5, the Brad Cox horse, clearly taking a big step up in class, getting the real class test here for the first time. But horse has a ton of early speed and is a horse that am I getting press him for that? Oh, there goes the value.
No.
Okay. Wow, that one. Okay.
I have a feeling that all 3 of us are going to be on this horse. So,
Yep.
But I really like Verifier in this spot. Probably not my top pick, but definitely this horse has done nothing wrong. It seems to be taking a step forward every race. I've seen this narrative out of Brad Cox before, and this is kind of how all these monsters start out. And the other horse I was really interested in is the horse immediately to his outside, the 6-horse Smoking Wicked. I thought that Amsterdam was a extremely good effort out of him, and they've tried a few different things with him, trying to figure out what he really is. And I think this is probably what he really wants to do. Wants to kind of go this, this 1 turn 7 furlong type of race, 6.5, 7 furlong kind of thing. And again, another one of these horses that seems to be kind of figuring it out. His last 2 have been pretty major step forwards as far as the figures are concerned. So, I think for me, the race goes through the 5 and the 6. There were some other prices I liked here, but interesting to see how either one of you two saw it, because again, you can make a pretty good argument for almost every horse in this race that isn't named Chancellor McPatrick.
I thought last time was the time to have it. I told you guys. Caleb, where did you land?
Let's not talk about that race.
Yeah, I mean, directionally, I agree with Mark. I think Verify, he's certainly my top pick. I wonder if we're either going to get a lot better price than I anticipate, or if this is a morning line David might want back. I don't think this horse goes off at 4-1. I think he goes off as your favorite. I could see him being like 9-5, truthfully. I mean, this is a horse who's won by open lengths easily in all 3 starts, undefeated, has early speed, doesn't need the lead. Pratt, Cox, the only question mark for me is that he's been campaigned a bit odd for a typical Brad Cox horse. I mean, debuting at Colonial on dirt and then going to Pimlico for an optional 62 and then going to a listed stakes at Churchill. I mean, I'm not, totally sure what, generally, I mean, when Cox has a live one, it doesn't take him long to get the horse into a stakes race. So a legit stakes race, not the Maxfield. So I'm a little surprised at the way this one's been managed. But I think I was against him in that Maxfield because of that. And he just continues to prove me wrong. So at this point, I may not know why he's being campaigned the way he is, but I think he's much the goods and much the horse to beat in here. So he's pretty much a lone A for me. I might have 1 or 2 behind him. I'm not adamantly against Patch Adams. I'm just against him at a short price. I know this is something Josh and I kind of talked about on stream earlier, as far as those last 2 figures are good, but they came on off tracks. And I think that's true. I mean, I think that's something you need to be a little bit suspicious of, but I also think it's fair that like the previous 2 races were both 2 turns, which is clearly not what this horse wants to do. And then if you go back to his previous 1-turn race, he won by 10 lengths as a 2-year-old in November. So arguably, I mean, it's hard to know how much he was moved up in those 2 races from the off track versus how much he was moved up from cutting back to a 1-turn distance. But he's one that I think deserves enough respect to use, but I think he will be an underlay in my opinion. And then the other horse I might want a little bit of is the number 2 Midland Money. Pratt gets off, but he gets off to ride, in my opinion, the likeliest winner of the race. So I'm not going to be too critical of that. We get 31% when leading into first call, Joel Rosario on board, who is in all likelihood going to be on the lead in this race. This horse seems like he kind of has one way to go. A little bit green in that last start, the allowance race at Saratoga. I mean, it was kind of late to switch leads and wandered a bit in the stretch, but clearly a lot of talent is here. Probably needs to improve a little bit more, but speed on a big day at Saratoga. I mean, I've seen this script before, so he's more of like a B I might have behind it.
I can't believe I had to hit the Baffert Simp alert on Caleb. That hurt.
1 out of 3 is not too bad. At least it's the longest price Baffert.
So like I was thinking about this, about the morning line, right? And I've always said this. If you want to know who the morning line favorite is, just look who ran the last highest out buyer. Patch Adams got a 99 for that Woody Stevens. Actually, Midland Money got 100 for that Saratoga race. But if you look at Verifier, a little bit shorter, right? 92, 91, 95. So
ran a faster fig, like
yeah, Smoking.
I don't really think it stands up here. I understand where you're coming from, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I think that's why the 5 isn't listed as your morning line favorite, because isn't the fastest buyer horse on there. But I love the 5. 5 is my lone A in this race. I have 2 Bs in this race. One of them's the 8 Madacat Road. I do think that
buzzer.
I do think you want me to hit the buzzer on myself.
I mean, there's about 3 different buzzers you could use on this one.
That's probably the most appropriate.
I would say take out reducer also fits, but that's fine.
I would agree with that.
I honestly think that I don't know. They debuted this horse in a stakes race, right? Going 7 furlongs, finished second in that race. But I think that this is a horse that is going to benefit from cutting back to 1 turn. I think the last 2 races, right, this horse has gotten muddy tracks. So I'm really interested to see. Hopefully, we get a fast track for this horse. I'm interested to see how this horse runs going 1 turn on the fast track again. But the other B I have in this race is actually the 7 Captain Cook.
Same.
And this is a horse that's leaving Richard Duttrow's barn, going to Todd Pletcher. Finished 3rd in that Churchill Downs Stakes race while being on the lead. But this is a horse that's been improving every start this year, and gets the hottest jockey on the grounds in Ricky Gogo Santana Jr. So I thought that this horse was very, very interesting in the spot. Last out got a 118. And honestly, I think something like a 120, a 122 probably wins this race. And with this horse kind of being an improving type, with the barn change, I could see this horse, stepping forward and kind of running that route, right? And this is definitely a horse that has been bred to go 1 turn, right? Practical Joke on top, Indian Charlie on the bottom, right? This horse wants to go 7 furlongs, 1 turn mile. And I think that this is a horse, like, if we do get some weather, I think that this is a horse that you actually improve with that breeding to maybe run a little bit better on a sloppy track. So I really like the 7 Captain Cook. I think you're getting the right price on that horse. Verifier is my lone A, but I like the 7 and the 8 in here as Bs. Oh man, we got a lot of stuff in here. Nick Seaver saying that this is a weird spot for Baffert to ship in so many with the Pat O'Brien running at Del Mar. Maybe he thinks Speedboat Beach is loaded. What do you guys think?
I mean,
well, then why is he running? Why is he running 2 horses? Why is he running 2 horses in the Speedboat Beach race then? He's got,
and this is a 3-year-old. Isn't this not a 3-year-old race?
It's a 3-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
He can't run Speedboat Beach in here anyways. So yeah. No, and I mean, I think so. First off, Josh, there's no chance of weather. There's absolutely nothing in the forecast. So, but I do very much agree with you, Captain Cook. I kind of had hoped that nobody would talk about him because I think all the angles that you pointed out about him are very interesting. I just hope nobody else sees it, and the two of us both seeing the same things kind of scares me that I'm going to get nowhere near that 12-1 line that I'd hoped to get. But I think they're finally cutting back to what he wants to do. And Santana and Pletcher have some very obviously limited sample size, but some very stupid stats together.
Yeah, I was curious about Captain Cook, so I can look up the stat because it's not a move that you see often with the barn switch into Pletcher. But Todd Pletcher, first after trainer switch and graded stakes, 1 for 20 over the past 5 years with a 63-cent ROI. So yeah, not a great move for him to pick up a horse and then throw him into the stakes company. I'm not really against the horse. I think he will get 12-1, but I'm so high on Verifier, who kind of crushed this horse last out. I'm just not sure that this horse can turn the tables there. But if we're underneath, I don't mind it.
I know Josh is looking something up. Do you have any concerns with Verifier taking the step up in class? I mean, this is a big step up in class because this isn't some sort of a, kind of like one of those sus G1s. This is a fairly stout field. Any concerns that class eventually does matter, right?
So I'd actually argue that it's not as much of a step up as you would think. And I think the Maxfield was actually a pretty tough race, despite being a listed stakes at Churchill. I mean, and if you look at one of the nice things for like time form, is you can see the race rating in the little box, which generally gives you an indication of how tough a race was. That Maxfield was rated a 121, and for example, if you go to the top of the page, this race is rated a 119. So, I mean, I don't always agree with that, but I'm just directionally speaking, time form thinks that race was tougher than this one. I'm not sure I'd go as far to agree with that, but I don't think it's the monumental class hike that you would normally think when you go from a listed stakes to a grade 1. I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, and I think, Caleb, this is the query that you would kind of run, right? You said trainer change, first time after trainer switch.
Yes.
Integrated stakes, 1 for 20. And that's a nice thing about Formulator, right? Like occasionally, like if you got questions, you're able to kind of find that kind of stuff. So not exactly a plus move for Todd Pletcher in this case here. Anything else in this race? I did say that Formulator at home, Matt Carlson was able to run. Chad with 1 entry, 15 races, 4 winners, 91-cent ROI. Chad with 2 entries, 39 races, 18 winners, $2.57 ROI. 3 entries, 18 races, 13 winners, $2.74 ROI. And when he's got 4 entries, 8 races, 8 winners, $3.46 ROI. So apparently just betting Chad is positive.
Not that I want to question Matt, but did he divide those numbers by the number of entries?
I mean, he's probably had a couple beers at this point, so he's probably figuring all that out right now.
So I'm sure. So the winner returned that ROI. Yeah, got it. The Chad ROI, not necessarily assuming that you flat win bet all 4 entries of that race, which would murder your ROI. Got it.
I don't like this horse, but just before we move on, did any of you guys give a look to Barnes at all?
No.
I saw in our chat, it looked like David Barista, he liked Barnes. So he thinks he's going to be using Barnes. I thought the cutback was interesting for this horse, right? But like I said, this is a horse that's undefeated, obviously going 1 turn, right? And then they got Derby Fever and ran fine in the San Felipe and then just completely fell apart in the Santa Anita Derby. And then, went to the sideline, but I kind of don't hate him cutting back, but
I think you can argue. And again, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate a bit here, but his 1-turn races are good. And his San Felipe, he lost to Journalism by a length and change. Journalism, who's probably the second best, 3-year-old in the country right now. And then in the Santa Anita Derby, that's a race where Citizen Bull was entered, and this horse was kind of taken out of his element. He's not going to send Barnes against Citizen Bull. So Barnes was kind of used as like a tight end offensive lineman in that race, trying to keep Journalism pinned on the fence, just making sure Citizen Bull could do his thing. It didn't work, obviously, in this horse. But I just don't think that was really the right trip or the right kind of a setup for what that horse never gave him much of a shot there. you know, I think he's going to be too short of a price for me to take a shot. But if he floats up into the 6-1, you know, or better range, I do think he gets a little bit interesting.
And you forgot that he lost to the second best 3-year-old, and he beat the third best 3-year-old.
I know you're not talking about Rodriguez.
Oh man, I would have made so much money if he would have run in the Derby. Anything else in this race? All right, Ballerina. 7 furlong grade 1 race here, going for 3-year-old and up fillies and mares. I thought that this was a very, very wide open race. You know, I took the Caleb approach here in that I didn't like the morning line favorite, Scylla at 5-2. Just not a fan of this horse. This is a horse that has run very, very good speed figures, but has run second a hell of a lot, and just not a horse that I really want to take a short price on. You know, just, you know, kind of seeing that this is a horse that, as Mark likes to say, doesn't like to get her picture taken. So I had this horse nowhere in this spot, but I kind of had a hard time narrowing it down. I like Mystic Lake. Ricky Gogo Santana once again here for Saffie Joseph Jr. Obviously won at Delaware Park last time out. Real slow pace. Went wire to wire in that race and didn't get much of a time form fig for that effort, but does have some nice races, including a 121 in the inside information where she won that race. So I thought this is a pretty talented horse. I think that this is a horse that's going to be inside drawn speed in here. And, you know, I kind of looked at this race and there didn't seem to be a ton of speed in this race. So it could be a case that, hey, Ricky gets this horse out and is able to just kind of go. But at the same time, you know, I kind of wonder, is that horse just in this race, or is this horse going to try and maybe set it up for another horse I have, which is the 5 Claret Beret here, who last time out, you know, lost to Vava in a 7 furlong race where we had some blue fractions there in the middle. So maybe Saffie's just like, hey, I want to make sure that we get some pace in here to run at. You know, sends that one out on a bit of a suicide mission and kind of sets it up for a horse like the 5. You know, does have some nice time form figs. If you go to the race 2 back at Gulfstream Park, got a 122. You know, came with a 117 in the 7 furlong race at Churchill Downs. So didn't fall too far from that top. But I like the 2 Saffie racers in here. And then obviously the 5, the 8, My Main Squeeze was another horse that I kind of gave a look to. You know, one that New York bred stakes last time out, slow pace, was able to go wire to wire. I mean, that horse was even money in that spot, should win that race, but got a really, really nice time form fig for that race. And, you know, the Churchill Downs race with Vava and you know, Claret Beret, Zeitlos in that race, I think just didn't really get much of a chance to kind of get involved in that race. It looked like they kind of just went around in a circle in that race. They didn't make up a ton of ground. So I think if there's a bit of a pace in this race that My Main Squeeze could maybe, you know, get a little bit of a setup and be able to kind of close into that. So I had the 1, 5, 8 as my A's. My lone B was the 9 Hope Road. You know, is 3-1 on the morning line. I mean, maybe this is a horse that takes some money and maybe takes favoritism from Scylla. I'm not really sure, but obviously this is a horse that's got speed figures that fit here. But similar to Scylla, is this another horse that throws up nice speed figures, but just doesn't win? You know, hasn't won in 5 starts, and that's when she's, you know, run all her top races. So, like, I mean, last time out, I don't even know who Too Sharp and Vendetta are, and this horse lost to them in the winning colors. So, you know, I don't know. Is this just a horse that needs an absolute needs a race against complete tomato cans to win. I'm not sure. The speed figures show that this is a competitive horse, but this horse keeps on getting beat by kind of also ran. So I have it as a B just based off the speed figures. We'll see what kind of exposure I actually have to this horse. But Caleb, I use the Baffert defensively, so I know you're already disappointed in me. So I'll let you kind of take the reins here.
Yeah, honestly, I'll be kind of short here. I'm buying this race. I think this is the hardest race in the sequence. I think legitimately every horse can win. I mean, if I had to tell you the least likely winner, I mean, maybe like a Helena's Forte, but I mean, I like her. Maybe Majestic Oops or Bright Work, but there's still things to like about those fillies. I mean, 2 of those 3 are horse for courses. And the other one, I mean, is, a very nice filly who just, I'm not sure she wants to cut back, but, I'm going to buy this race. And, given how I've spoken about the sequence already, I think I can be pretty skinny in the races around this one. So I'm not going to try to, get smarter than I am in this race and arbitrarily force an opinion where I have none. I will say that, from like a contest perspective or just, who do I like? I mean, I agree with Josh. I actually like both the Saffies as my top 2 picks. Mystic Lake might not be this good, but I do think that from the rails, she gets a pace advantage, and there's not a ton of speed in here, as Josh said. I think she's usable. And, Claire Beret, I think, is also another one who, it seems to be getting a lot of hype on some of the YouTube shows, according to Nick Sievers. But, if Vava was in this race, I mean, she'd probably be your favorite or second choice. And I thought this horse ran just fine against Vava in that Chicago Stakes at Churchill. So those are my top 2 selections. I'm not very high on Scylla. I'm not super high on Hope Road. I'm not super high on my main squeeze, so I think it's probably going to bounce off that last race, which feels like it came out of nowhere. But a lot of the others, wouldn't surprise me. And I think this race is ripe for, a mid to long priced horse, and I want to make sure I have exposure to it.
Yeah, I have the exact same take that Caleb does here, which is that this is a race I'm going to buy. And what that actually means is if you can tell me who's going to be the favorite in this race, let me know so I can actually just tournament play that horse, because that's the horse that's going to win. This race is just really, really, really tough. I think, probably my top 3. I look at a lot of the horses in this race, and they kind of come all off as all being a little bit class exposed. There's a number of horses here who, when they step up to this kind of caliber, don't fire their best stuff, and those are a lot of your short priced horses. Scylla, my main squeeze, Hope Road, and when I see that kind of thing, it makes me think, geez, I want to try to find a price. I want to try to find that new shooter or that a horse that's up and coming. And like I know it just. Because I find it funny. Caleb mentioned he thought the least likely winner was Helena's Forte, but that's going to be Joel Rosario on a speed horse who could theoretically get clear if Mystic Lake doesn't make the front end. So, and we already know that stat. So, like, I think this is one of those races where you need a lot of coverage. And I honestly, I don't really have a creative sort of super cute opinion in this race. This is one where probably every horse will be an A or a B in a pick 5 here. And I'm okay getting more aggressive in other spots in this, sequence, because there are spots I just have better opinions, but I want a lot of coverage in here. And I really notice I haven't given out a ton of horses that I'm super high on. I really think anybody can win. This is a very flat race, very competitive. I think if you force me, I would probably lean on a horse for course. I know PDT, who's a buddy who's very short, smart, is really high on Bright Work. Somebody like her, somebody like Helena's Forte, somebody like, those 2 are kind of the horse for course angles. I would probably lean towards one of those 2 as a top pick, because I think there's going to be a huge amount of value in either of those horses.
Sponsor, who you betting?
I'm not sure yet. It's live, so I can watch the board. It's going to be really,
it's live. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's going to be really dependent on what the board does, because I don't think Scylla goes off as your favorite, but I don't know who does. My gut says somebody like Hope Road goes off as your favorite. And so it just depends on, again, if somebody like a Bright Work ends up drifting up, I'd be all about that kind of a thing. Helena's Forte, I think 10-1 is way too short. You're probably getting more like 20-1 on that horse. That horse at 20-1 is very interesting. So it really depends on what the board does in Spot and Surf.
Anything else on this race?
Tough race.
Very tough race.
Yeah, I saw Penn State Scott saying the 5 is sneaky right before Nick said the number of YouTube shows on Claret Beret makes me
Yeah.
is going to be 4 to 5. Stephen Fox saying single Mystic Lake.
He's
I don't
trolling.
hate it at all. Is
You
he?
think he's trolling?
Yeah.
Is he actually
That's the
trolling?
horse that we always argue about, that when him and Emery constantly faced off against each other, or her and Emery.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just trolling.
What a dick. Race 12, the 4-go. 7 furlongs here, grade 1. And your morning line favorite is the 4, Bookham Dano at 8 to 5. You get 7 to 2 on Mulligan. You get 6 to 1 on Bishop's Bay, 5 to 1 on Most Wanted, and then you get double digits on the rest. So kind of a wide open race outside of Bookham Dano. Mark, where did you land here?
I'll keep it really short, sweet, and to the point. I think Bookham Dano wins this race 90% of the time. I have had a soft spot for him for quite some time. He's a horse that is, I don't know, last 4 or 5, he's just gotten better every race. I don't even think he needs his best of his best effort. I realize Mulligan is very close to him in speed figures, but Mulligan doesn't, you mentioned camera shy. Mulligan tends to be a little bit camera shy. So I think Bookham Dano is just much the horse to beat in here. And, in a sequence, if you want to have me force me to make a cute single, he's going to be my, cute single in here, where I think there's 2 other more likely single races. I think Bookham Dano is the one I'm most interested in singling, probably in this pick 5 or pick 6 sequence.
Caleb?
Yeah, not much to add. Last race, I said I'm buying it because I think I can get skinny elsewhere. Welcome to elsewhere. Bookham Dano, I think, is an extremely likely winner. I'm going to pay the tax and throw Mulligan in as a B, simply because the race is 7 furlongs. Dano has been a lot better at 6 and 6.5 than he has been at 7. Not that he's been poor at 7, but he's been better at 6, whereas Mulligan seems like he's better at 7. They're close enough on figures that if that might tip the scale, I'm going to use Mulligan less than Bookham Dano for sure, but I will have him on some tickets as a B. Truthfully, I think it's a 2-horse race. I mean, I tried to make a case for like one of the Cox runners or even like Extra Anejo or something on the outside, but I think it's really a 2-horse race.
I have Bookham Dano as an A, and I'm using 2 other horses. I have Scotland is another horse that I was interested in using in this spot. I do think that Scotland does like running here at Saratoga. I think last time out caught a sloppy track. And, if you kind of go back, the horse is not really, I don't think the horse has really run all that well on a sloppy track. So I do think that if we catch a fast track, that you might get an improvement out of Scotland. And I have this horse as an A just based off of value, right? Just based off the fact that you're going to get, 12 to 1, 14 to 1, something like that on this type of horse. I do really like this horse in this spot. And then, the 6 Crazy Mason is another horse I looked at here. April Aqueduct is different, right, Caleb? Those are different speed. The Spring Duct, because that 121 going 7 furlongs in the Carter looks pretty good. Now, granted, Bookham Dano is running high 120s, low 130s, but I do think that if for some reason Bookham Dano doesn't show up and runs back to what he's been running more at 7 furlongs, which is low 120s, I do think that a horse like Crazy Mason might be able to, kind of match him there, because I really do think that the 1 7 furlong race he's run has been his best race. Only going to be a B type for me, but Bookham Dano's going to be pretty tough in this spot. I'm going to use him. I'm going to use Scotland as an A just because I do think that getting a fast track here and coming back to 7 furlongs is going to be good for him, and you're going to get a good price. And Crazy Mason is my lone B. So,
Josh, would you consider us friends?
Sure.
Could you remind me who's riding Crazy Mason?
God, Oh. Oh no. All right. Well,
Why'd you have to tell
me,
him? Why? Why'd
let
you
me
tell him?
let me That's why I made the horse a B.
I
a
think
C
Crazy
now.
Mason is such a cool horse, but like, my goodness, I don't know that I've ever seen a horse as devoid of early speed as this horse. I mean, in that Bing Crosby, he broke fine and then just lost contact with the field. I mean, if there was more speed in the race, I'd be higher on him. I think he's such a cool horse, but I just don't think the race sets up for him.
Well, so what do you think of time form saying that this is going to be a fast pace?
I think time form typically gives you a lot of fast paces when you get big fields. When you have 10, 11, 12 horses, it tends to predict a lot more fast paces than I think is realistic. I mean, I'm not even sure that I could tell you who the leader is, much less that it's going to be a fast pace.
No clue. I also think time form tends to list fast paces in races that are shorter distances. These sprint races, you definitely get more of these fast paces, but you're more concerned about a fast pace when you're worried about the race coming apart. And again, 7 furlongs is that weird tweener distance, but sprints, I'm less concerned about them coming apart than, a route where if you see it in, come up as fast pace, you're worried about that race coming apart.
Anything else in this race?
Just a question. Bishop's Bay. What price do you get on Bishop's Bay? Does Bishop's Bay really go off at 6-1?
I mean, I think he's probably like your third choice in the race.
Yeah.
But is he 6-1? Is he 9-2? I mean, probably somewhere between there, I would guess.
I was saying, because if he's 6 or 7-1, he's actually
seems right. Yeah.
If he's 6 or 7-1 kind of range, he's a really interesting play in here. If he's 9-2, he's not nearly as interesting. So just, questions.
Yeah, I think he's been, very intelligently campaigned to beat up on some absolute tomato cans. Look, he's been basically 3-2 or less. Hell, he's been even money or less in his last 7 starts. I mean, I just think this is a horse that's, not this talented. If anything, I'd be more interested in Most Wanted, who does have route speed and, is a little more class tested. I mean, ran second to Fierceness 2 back and then second to Skippy, 3 back. Came away with a nice win at the 1-turn configuration at the mile at Churchill last out. I don't love Flo, but I mean, he has ridden this horse fine. And this is a horse that, if you believe the 2-back race, which I do not, I think the Ali Sheba figure is garbage. But there's other figures anyway that are in the 120s this horse has run that, if you think the top 2 don't fire, I mean, he figures a bit, or if you think the track comes up super quick and he can get out on the front and just keep going. But, I mean, I can make cases for more horses, but I don't want to, because I truly think that, Bookham wins this, Dano wins this race 7 out of 10 times, and 2.5 of the remaining 3 is won by Mulligan. So that's kind of how I see the race.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's other horses in here that are interesting, but again, I don't want to dive too deep because, I mean, I would be much more interested in Most Wanted with literally any other jockey on the face of the planet on him. So,
I mean, I'm a big Bill Mott guy, and even I can't get to Scotland. So
I have him as a C, but purely on I think he's a cool horse kind of a thing. So more than anything else. He's way, 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 way too slow on figures to be a player here.
All right. Grade 1 Travers for 3-year-olds going 1.25 miles on the main track. Your morning line favorite is Sovereignty at 2-5. Mark, are you going to try and beat Sovereignty?
Nope.
Caleb, are you going to try and beat Sovereignty?
I mean, I feel like you already know the answer to that question. Listen, he's the most likely winner of this race. I'm not going to argue with that. And Caleb's fair odds, this horse is between 3-5 and 4-5. He's not a 2-5 or a 1-5, which I think he's going to be. He doesn't win this race 80% of the time in my mind. He's very good. There's no reason to knock this horse. I just think others are kind of interesting. And the main player here is the number 1 Magnitude, who, all of a sudden got really, really good. I mean, ran a hole in the wind at a monster price at the Risen Star, and then had like a bone chip or a heel fracture. He had some kind of injury that took him off the Derby trail. Came back in the cow pasture stakes at Iowa and just absolutely romped once again. I mean, showed that he's no worse for wear. I mean, back to back, 10 length wins essentially. And he's the one horse that on time form figures anyway can challenge Sovereignty, off that, last effort and, arguably the 2-back effort. So the one thing that I think absolutely is going to be a pain for Magnitude is the fact that, Vicky Oliver's, getting a little ambitious and entering Bracket Buster in this race. Bracket Buster has no chance to win this race, but he does have a chance to ruin this race for Magnitude. And I think that's what I'm afraid of. Magnitude draws the rail. Bracket Buster's right to his outside. Louis Saez gets up, a very aggressive rider. I mean, if it was Manny Franco up or, the posts were switched or something, maybe, the world kind of works out for Magnitude, but I think the trip is going to be tough for him. But like I said, I was very impressed with his Risen Star, which has turned out to be a very productive race. I don't care what he beat in the Iowa Derby because he beat nothing the way you're kind of supposed to. So yeah, I do like Magnitude in here. And then, the other horse I might have a little exposure to is going to be the number 3 Strategic Focus. I do think it's a little interesting that Chad runs this horse here and runs Chancer in the Jerkins earlier on the card. Right. I don't care the Pratt's up. But it's weird, right? I mean, Chancer runs this horse down, who was Chad's A horse for his whole 2-year-old season. And then Chad cuts Chancer back into a spot that doesn't look very intuitive. I mean, I'm not sure if that's kind of tipping his hand a bit in the confidence he might have in this horse. If it's a lack of confidence in Chancer, maybe a little bit of both. But for me, I mean, I thought this horse ran, extremely strong in that optional 50. And then in the Curlin, I think he just moved too early. I mean, that's a race that really came apart. Where deep closers, kind of ended up running, Chancer obviously getting the job done. And, I just thought this horse kind of lost focus once he hit the front, moved a bit too early, and then kind of started wandering and looking around. I think the blinkers on are going to be huge for this horse. I mean, I'm kind of banking on that. Even in that disappointing defeat as the odds-on favorite last out, he still paired up, his top from 2-back, and he's lightly raced and has every right to step forward. I concede it's a tall task to beat Sovereignty in this race. So, I mean, I'm not going to knock anyone for just taking the single and moving on. But if you beat Sovereignty horizontally, I think you're absolutely going to get paid. And I think those are the 2 horses I'm going to try to do it with.
I'm single in the spot. I'm single to Magnitude. I'm trying to beat Sovereignty in the spot. Now, obviously, if I'm betting Mark's money, I'm singling Sovereignty. But my money, no. Magnitude, I would not bet. I wouldn't bet Magnitude with Mark's money, but I'll bet it with my money, which is probably a backwards way to look at it. But, we saw that horse basically run a hole in the wind at Fairgrounds early, and obviously got taken off the Derby trail. And I've been waiting to see this horse run back. Now, granted, Steve Asmussen put the horse in kind of a soft spot at Prairie Meadows, but backed it up. Time form loved that figure, and that 124 matches up right with Sovereignty. And look, I feel like one of the toughest things to do in horse racing is win a 5-horse race as a deep closer. I think that is a very, very tall task because we see it happen all the time. We see it happen all the time.
Are you calling Sovereignty a deep closer?
You're
I think
not?
he's much more. No, I don't. I think he's much more tactical. I don't think he's a horse that. When I think
so, he's
closer,
not.
I think
You're saying that he's not going to be last in this race.
I think he's probably last, but I think that this is a 5-horse field that the first to last is within 3 lengths of one another. I think when you're talking about that closer, the analogy you're going for is those horses that need a pace setup to be able to then close into. Yeah, they run big figures, but they really need that setup. I don't think he does. I think he's tactical enough that he can sit 3 lengths off this field, and he's just much better than these. I understand where you're coming from, Josh. You're looking for that horse that's going to be short field. You want the speed horse, find out who gets the front end. They can kind of mess with the pace dynamics. But with the 1 and the 2 in here, I don't think that happens. And I don't think he's more than 3 lengths off the front end.
I don't know. I think he's going to be more than 3 lengths off of it, and I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for him. But I don't know. I'm gonna take the new shooter magnitude in this spot. I wish I was getting more than 2-1, but we're gonna try and connect horizontally here at some point. James Kinchin saying he heard McAfee had a virus.
If only he had an antivirus.
Boo! I don't have a boo. Boo!
Come on.
Let's see. We got a lot of stuff in the chat. Oh, we already said Stephen Fox said toss 2-1. Nick Seaver said, look at the races before Lecomte. He's a good horse, and that breeding is very good. So, not this time. Bernardini on the bottom. Yeah. David Brees says magnitude of 2-1. No thanks. That's what Nick Seaver says.
Yeah.
Stephen Fox saying he's not Sierra Leone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and just I do agree with Mark on the pace. Like, I mean, the Jim Dandy was a 5-horse field, and yet Sovereignty stayed close, and that was 1 1/8, 1 1/4 here. I mean, there's quicker horses in here to be sure, but he showed he's not the plotter that he was as a 2-year-old, and that's very scary for the rest of the division. And that's coming from someone who's trying to beat him. I mean, admittedly.
I respect anybody trying to beat him, and I think there's a game theory approach here, which is you buy the field and toss Sovereignty, right? I
mean, what I'll probably do, I mean, and since we have a bit of time, I mean, it's something like, I know Stephen Fox does this kind of frequently. I'm getting a lot of love for my joke, by the way, so thank you, chat. My co-host have no sense of humor. But yeah, I mean, Stephen, like what I'll probably do is, I mean, on my main tickets and where I'm buying that Philly race earlier, I'm trying to probably beat Sovereignty. I might play one saver for like $3 base, $5 base, where I'm just taking Bookham Dano, I'm singling Sovereignty, I'm singling, I forget who starts the sequence off, Torpedo Anna, for example, whoever, and then, using maybe my top 2 or 3, maybe they're both Saffy horses in that race. That way, if I'm wrong about Sovereignty and it chalks out, I mean, on a $9 ticket, I have a chance to hit it, 6 or 12 times, and that's kind of my hedge against him. I'm not playing a ticket with Sovereignty on it as a B or a C for 50 cents. I think that's a terrible bet.
Yeah, agreed.
Anything else on this card? Caleb, I just see you looking at chat, just like, just all the love. You just like you loving love. It, like, goodness gracious. Yeah, well, I think that's going to do it for us here on The Wrong Lead. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 Turns. Caleb is at Caleb WVU. Yeah, we'll be around. Hit us up on Discord. Hit us up on Twitter. And, if you're in Spa and Surf, look out for Mark because he's coming. He's coming for you. So good luck. Have a good weekend. Let's make some money.